Part 5. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-san Buletinji. Chapter 41. Since the Thunder moved to Oklahoma City in 2008, this agricultural and mining city in the central part of the United States has gradually developed a basketball culture unique to them. Watching a group of teenagers grow up, Oklahoma City's basketball atmosphere has gradually grown. It's hot. The game has started for a while. On the court, whenever Kevin Durant or Russell Westbrook gets the ball, there will be a wave of cheers from the sidelines. These two players are drafted by the Thunder. The star who came here proved his power last season, and now he has won the reputation of being a king and pop combination. In the face of the Thunder's king-bombing combination, the Spurs' response was very old. Danny Green defended Russell Westbrook, Kawhi Leonard defended Kevin Durant, and strangled to death through the efforts of two single defenders. The two ace of Thunder. Of course, it's easy to say but difficult to do. The reason why the ace is an ace is certainly not so easy to be choked to death. Therefore, in the face of the Spurs, although the Thunder have played hard, they have been in contact with the Spurs. Angzi knows that if this situation continues, it will soon be his turn to play. After all, Kawhi Leonard is not a god, he can't do it alone against Kevin Durant for the entire game. And 11 also knows something about his next opponent, Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, the rookie season was still the Sonics Thunder, he got a lot of shots, every game he can take unlimited shots. In this way, after a season of dismal performance, Kevin Durant broke out. However, from the smuggled goods in the media last season, he suddenly became a super scorer. In the next few seasons, he continued to improve and won the highest honor in the field of scoring. Durant's scoring style is completely different from that of Kobe Bryant and LeBron James. This is a tall shooter superstar. He has a real height of 211 centimeters and a long arm span of 228 centimeters. He has extremely strong shooting ability. Shooting is his most stable scoring ability. It can be said that Kevin Durant will be the strongest opponent Angzi has encountered. The previous Blake Griffins are an all-star at best. Kevin Durant is different. This is a superstar. And still a future Hall of Fame player, regardless of strength or status, are far above the level of the all-star. On the court, facing Kawhi Leonard's defense, Kevin Durant held the ball to observe for a while. After a few fake moves, he shot a jumper directly on the spot, with a very graceful posture, a smooth shot, and the basketball came in. Basket, 2 points to hand. A series of technical moves are very standard. From this we can see Durant's strength. Even if Kawhi Leonard has stretched his hands and interfered with Adu's shot still made it. This is a very powerful state, the kind of state that you can't guard against. In this state, Angzi thinks that maybe only superstars can appear. Players with this ability can be called superstars and they can compete. Finally stood up to save the team. The Spurs' offense was very fast. Perhaps it is clear that the Thunder's physical condition is worse. In this game, Popovich specifically asked the team to speed up the offensive rhythm. After several block cuts, Tony Parker succeeded in a layup and also scored 2 points. On the other hand, the Thunder were also unambiguous. Adu took the ball to the front court and directly soared for a three-pointer, successfully hitting. Popovich immediately called a timeout. Kawhi Leonard was already a little bit unaware of Adu. It must be adjusted at this time. They need to establish an advantage as soon as possible. Although the Spurs have an advantage in physical fitness, they cannot be delayed at this time. The more they are delayed, the more complicated the situation will be, and the more unpredictable the outcome will be. Everyone is playing well, take a short break. Let's make some adjustments. And, you play, replace Thiago, play power forward, Corey replaces Tony, play point guard. After you play, pay attention to the defensive end. For Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant's defense and double teaming, don't give them more opportunities. If necessary, You can also do some defense changes with Danny and Kahi to let them rest. The game has reached the 4th minute of the second quarter. Popovic quickly announced 2 substitutions, both related to defense. Angzi topped the power forward position to help defend Adu and Corey Joseph. Substituting Tony Parker is obviously to use Joseph's young energy to deal with Russell Westbrook. As soon as the Spurs attacked, Angzi calmly made a pick and roll for Corey Joseph, and then watched Tim Duncan's point guard catch the ball and hit a board shot. The Spurs' offense was still not slow. Then, it was the Thunder's offense. I don't know if the Thunder took doping or something else in this game. Knowing that their physical fitness is not as good as the Spurs, the Thunder continued to speed up along with the Spurs in this game. Russell Westbrook quickly took the ball to the front court, Corey Joseph posted it, and he changed defense with Danny Green. Angzi also ran a few laps here, and after several rotations, he eventually switched defenses with Kawhi Leonard. The opponent in front of him became Kevin Durant. Russell Westbrook passed the ball to Kevin Durant, the Thunder team opened up, this is going to be a singles. An 11 stood firmly in front of Adu, but he was still a little nervous, because Angzi found that Adu was different from the people he had defended before. Whether it was Blake Griffin or Paul Millsap, Angzi had a physical advantage, but this time against Adu, Angzi discovered that Adu is not only taller than him a pair of long. The arm made Angzi feel terrified. From the physical aspect, Angzi felt that Adu was very difficult to defend. Kevin Durant faced the Spurs defense, defending him is the Spurs perimeter shield, China An, he made a probing step and went straight. On the field, Kevin Durant leaped high, and in front of his slender body was Angzi who was also leaping high. Angzi jumped higher, but he still couldn't reach the basketball. Actually Angzi jumped with him the moment Kevin Durant took the shot, but Adu's height and arm span quickly made Angzi desperate, and he could not interfere with Adu at all. A dry pull, Adu scored 2 points again. Thunder cheers at home, Angzi is helpless, how can this make him defend? He has never guarded against such an opponent. At this moment, Angzi's lack of experience is exposed. Although he has defended many players, his defensive experience has always been good and looks very sophisticated. But in the face of a supergiant like Adu, Angzi's experience problems have arisen. Failed to prevent Adu, and Angzi had no time to think about it. The Spurs' offense soon began. Amidst the accelerating shouts of his teammates, an 11 rushed to the front court. After running to the penalty area and following Tim Duncan to make a cross-screening cooperation, Angzi pulled all the way beyond the three-point line, and the cooperation between Corey Joseph and Danny Green in the high post was over, and no good opportunities were found. So the basketball was immediately passed to Angzi, who was already beyond the three-point line. Ibaka, who was defending Angzi, followed, but at a distance of 1 step, Angzi did not even think about it. He made a three-pointer and hit welcome to read the latest, fastest, and hottest book friends. The serialized works are all for mobile phone users, please go to read. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan-San Buletinji. Chapter 42. Returned a three-pointer and returned to the defensive end. An 11 continued to defend Adu. Kawhi Leonard has completely switched defenses in front of Ibaka. After Adu made another strong shot, Angzi had to maliciously guess whether Leonard fell in love with Ibaka's 28. The coach only speaking of letting Angzi assist in the defense, Leonard was better off, and Angzi became the main defense as soon as he came up. The defensive end failed to prevent Adu again, and 11 was quite depressed, but on the offensive end, he ushered in a wave of surprises again. Still the same cooperation, Angzi pulled beyond the three-point line, and after receiving the pass, Ibaka, who defended Angzi, gave Angzi another step, and Angzi naturally unceremoniously hit a three-pointer again. Faced with the roar of coach Scott Brooks, Serge Ibaka was quite helpless, there is no way, who would let him take on the task of protecting the penalty area. Although Angzi pulled out, he had to take a step back to protect the restricted area. For Scott Brooks' anger, Ibaka can only express grievances. The defensive end failed to prevent Adu, but the offensive end was a wave of small climaxes, which an 11 did not expect. However, the fact that Angzi was unable to defend Kevin Durant quickly set the tone for his game. Halfway through the second quarter, Popovich had to adjust again and change to Kawhi Leonard as the main defense. Adu, Angzi was quickly put in the position of shooting guard, James Harden, who hadn't been on defense for too long. After changing to Harden, Angzi finally recovered his position on the defensive end. Facing Harden, who has not yet grown into a superstar, Angzi can still restrict his opponents a little, especially because Harden is still a star with a new trick even when he grew up to become a superstar. James Harden's offense has only two moves, one is to make a layup in a very strange posture after a breakthrough, and the other is to make a random three-pointer from the outside. Angzi feels that he is very confident in defending such a player. After the change of defense, Angzi faced Harden. Harden held the ball and organized the offense. In the face of Angzi's defense, Harden quickly found the flaw: Angzi's stickers were too tight. So Harden quickly dribbled the ball under the two hips and directly broke through Angzi's defense and rushed into the three-point line. Then, at the moment Angzi followed up, he suddenly stopped and raised the ball with his right hand to make a shot. Angzi hurriedly rushed forward. Harden flicked a shot, changed his left hand, and threw the basketball. A throw hit, the referee's whistle sounded, and Harden hit Angzi with a 2-1. Angzi was speechless. He thought he had met a good opponent, but it turned out to be like this. Stood on the free throw line, Harden made the free throw steadily and scored 3 points. When came to the offensive end, Angzi pulled beyond the three-point line, which may have been the reason for making 2 three-pointers in a row. Harden was close to prevent Angzi from making another three-pointer. The basketball quickly reached Angzi's hands. Seeing Harden haunting him, the three-pointer would definitely not be able to shoot, so it was passed out, and Angzi was not reconciled. This teammate passed it to himself, but also wanted to make himself an answer ball. Otherwise, why would he pass it if he has no space? Angzi held the ball to observe for a few seconds, and then he decided to try a breakthrough. With TJ Ford's dribble and Angzi's speed, Angzi still has a good breakthrough, but he rarely uses this method to attack. In the final analysis, it is because Angzi doesn't know how to end the attack after the breakthrough. He doesn't. Mid-range shots and layups are average. It's easy to rush in, but it's difficult to put the ball into the basket. But this time, in order to get back the place, Angzi couldn't care too much. Dribbled twice with the ball, and Angzi rushed in directly. James Harden's defense was like paper, Angzi passed him by one step, which made Angzi never expect. China Ann's breakthrough is very fast, James Harden can only watch and leave with his eyes. Angzi rushed all the way to the restricted area, Serge Ibaka made it up, and stood in front of Angzi like a tower. Angzi gritted his teeth, he must score this goal. So, with a fierce stomping, Angzi soared into the air, holding the basketball with one hand, making a windmill posture, and flying to the basket. And he is about to dunk, but in front of him is the league block king Serge Ibaka. Ibaka also jumped up, thinking about the old hatred of the previous 2 three-pointers, he viciously rushed over, and tried hard to cover the basketball with his big hands. The two collided in the air, each shouting loudly. Only a croak was heard, Angzi used brute force. Completed this dunk. Dunk. Ibaka dunked by China and GE. The Thunder's home court was quiet, only to hear the Spurs bench over their jubilation. This is a deduction. Serge Ibaka has lost his lord. His face was uncertain, but an 11 was very excited. With this shot, an 11 showed his confidence and morale. And, great work, Corey Joseph ran over to hang Angzi. There was also Duen Blair on the bench. He ran directly onto the court, pulling N and shouting, N. N. How can you fight so violently? There was a dunk, and the Spurs' morale was high. Although the defense is not good, Angzi's three-point shot from the outside gave the Spurs more offensive opportunities on the offensive end, and he was not replaced by Popovich. From time to time, Angzi fired from the three-point line. The Thunder had to pay attention to Angzi's offense, but when they just focused on defending Angzi's three-pointer, Angzi suddenly made a breakthrough with the ball. Harden defended. Too late, let Angzi succeed in a sneak attack and score a few points in a row, making the Thunder also quite helpless. The defensive end could not be defended, but the offensive end was very fierce, and the two teams fought against each other like this. In this way, the better physical Spurs gradually gained the advantage, and finally in the fourth quarter with Angzi and Manu Ginobili's three-pointers, the Spurs took away the game one after another. 9 consecutive victories, plus the buff to beat the Thunder, the Spurs suddenly changed everyone's opinion. In this game, the Spurs and the Thunder fought against each other. Angzi also scored through the Thunder's physical and defensive loopholes. In this game, he scored 22 points again, breaking his career scoring record once again, although his defensive performance was poor. But Angzi still relied on his outstanding performance on the offensive end to become a popular figure after this game, because with more than 15 points in 3 consecutive games, Angzi has become a leader in this year's Rookie. With 15 points against the Warriors, a truce against the Mavericks, and another 19 points against the Nuggets, this game is even more offensive, scoring 22 points, plus the excellent performance on the defensive end. Angzi has attracted a lot of attention. The defense is strong and stable, and the Spurs will make a treasure in the second round. In the second round, the Spurs helped the Spurs 9 consecutive victories. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 43. Seeking collection and recommendation tickets. I hope everyone can support you in the new day. Before the 2011 draft, because of the threat of the shutdown crisis, a large number of rookies who wanted to participate chose to withdraw. The quality of this draft was also questioned and criticized. It has been half a month since the regular season, and the rookies have gradually revealed their strength and potential. Number 1 pick Kelly Irving's performance can be considered as expected, averaging 18.1 points and 4.9 assists, 51.1% shooting, and 41.1% three-point shooting. The data is very good. The second place, Derek Williams, is struggling. The non-uniformity makes it difficult for him to get a chance in the Timberwolves. Until now, Derek Williams has no right to be on the rookie list. The same is true for Tanhua Enes Kanter, but his situation is different. Kanter does not get a chance in the Jazz, and it has something to do with the Jazz's too many insiders. ESPN's rookie list, which is updated every half month, is soon released. Up to now, the teams have played 8 or 9 games. In the rookie list, Kelly Irving ranked first with the highest number of rookies in scoring and second-ranked assists. Second was repetitioner Ricky Rubio, who had 10.6 points, 4.2 rebounds and 8.2 rebounds. With 2.2 assists and steals, he ranked second with his assists and steals double first. The third is Angzi's college teammate Kemba Walker, who ranks second among rookies in scoring and third in assists. Fourth is Brandon Knight, who ranks third in scoring and fourth in assists. Then, starting from fifth, it has nothing to do with the lottery pick. The fifth is Kenneth Farid, who is the 22nd pick in the first round. His rebounding is the first rookie. Ma Shang is the 25th pick in the first round. Brooks ranks 6th, and his score was 4th among rookies. 7th Isaiah Thomas, the small player who was selected after Angzi, ranked 5th among rookies in scoring and completed a counter-attack. And then the 8th is Angzi. He came out of the rookies with the 6th rank scoring, 3rd rank steals, and 1st ranked blocks among all rookies. In 9 games, Anzi played 7 of them. He averaged 11.2 points, 3.6 rebounds, 1.2 assists, 1.5 steals and 2.0 blocks per game. Among them, not only is the rookie number 1 in blocked shots, Anzi is also ranked in the top 5 among all players in the league. Except for the number 1 Serge Ibaka with an average of 4.0 blocks per game, it is second. The number of blocked shots to 6th is 2.0, 5 players, except for Anzi, all centers, JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, and Roy Hibbert. An 11 can be ranked here, his ability to block shots does not need to be said too much. Ranked 9th in the rookie list is Anzi's teammate Kawhi Leonard. His scoring is slightly lower than that of Anzi, but Leonard's steals are second among rookies, averaging 2.1 per game, and second in rebounds per game. 6.5, the last place on the rookie list is Chandler Parsons of the Rockets. He also averaged 9.5 points and 4.8 rebounds per game when he split the playing time with Chase Budinger, and his performance was very good. As soon as the rookie list came out, Anzi ranked 8th. This is a compliment to himself, and Anzi is also very happy. Back in San Antonio, the team also began to pay salaries. NBA players' salaries are paid every half a month. According to the league's rules, the pay should be paid on the 1st and 15th of each month, but most teams don't. Will strictly follow this time, such as the Spurs, they chose to pay early. When it's time to pay, the team's financial staff will give the players a salary list. The list contains not only the various items that the players can receive, but also the salary that the players themselves should receive, as well as meal and car allowances. And so on. Of course, the welfare income also includes some fines. For example, Anzi's teammate, Dewan Blair, was fined a lump sum because of poor weight loss. Anzi's salary this season is less than $900,000. This salary will be divided into 6 months and distributed to Anzi twice a month. So this time, Anzi's salary should be $75,000, but this is $75,000. Taxes still have to be deducted. According to the Texas tax law, state personal income tax is exempt, but Anzi still has to pay part of the federal personal income tax, city tax, and medical insurance taxes. If these taxes are deducted, Anzi can receive only there are more than $40,000 left. At first glance, it's okay, but I'm afraid of comparison. If you compare with other players, Anzi's poor salary is not enough. For example, Tim Duncan, the highest paid Spurs team, has an annual salary of $21.16 million this year. Every half a month, he can receive $1.76 million, deducting the federal income tax. The figure that can actually be obtained is more than $1 million, and Anzi's salary is only a fraction of Duncan's. This kind of salary gap made Anzi feel very helpless, and it also made him determined that he must work hard and work hard to improve himself, and work hard to earn more money. After getting more than $40,000, plus the money earned by Evo Clark's several endorsements that Anzi found for Anzi over the past time, the total is more than $100,000. Anzi is wondering whether to buy cars. There are 14 Spurs players. Until now, the only one without a car is Anzi. This situation is still very embarrassing. A car means face, and no car means no face. Anzi thinks, no matter what, we must get a car first. And after having a car, he and Abby don't have to live near the training hall. The prices and rents here are very high. Living here is actually not very cost-effective, and the living is very frustrated and the place is small. If you have a car, Anzi can go to the suburbs and find another house, and the place to live will not be so small. After thinking about it, Anzi made up his mind and received his salary. Anzi took Abby to the car market in San Antonio. It seemed that he finally settled on a Land Rover Range Rover Evoque, which cost 50,000 yuan. A lot of dollars can be regarded as a solution to the car problem. For the Land Rover Range Rover Evoque, Angzi is still very satisfied. This car is considered an entry-level luxury car. It is SUV level and has a large space. It is very suitable for that kind of work. It is also very powerful. It is very good in all aspects, and the most important, it is very domineering, very in line with Angzi's style, and the powerful 4-drive force can run freely in the wild. The off-road ability of the car is still very important in Texas, which is full of farms. After buying a car, Angzi wanted to show off. Fortunately, the Spurs have a lot of rest these days. On the second day of buying a car, the Spurs will have a home game in the afternoon. Angzi drove directly to AMP T Arena. Super Role Player. Author, Yuan San Buletinji. Chapter 44. Angzi happily parked the car in the underground parking lot of the AMP T Arena. He came a little earlier, and there was no one coming from the Spurs. Had to lock the car and went to the home team's locker room through the player channel. There were a lot of media following along the way to take pictures behind Angzi, so in general, the home team players will wear handsome and photogenic before the game. Today is the first time Angzi has appeared here. Before, because there was no car, he went upstairs from the other side to the home team's locker room. Therefore, Angzi is dressed very well today. In the cold January and winter in Texas, he wore a bright-colored windbreaker with a pure white shirt underneath, and a pair of slim-fitting trousers on the bottom, with a pair of well-regulated trousers. Leather shoes, the whole person looks very spiritual. The reporters kept taking pictures of Angzi, thinking that after the game, there would be another off-court topic for the players. China's An is well-dressed and bright and eye-catching, while Russell Westbrook in Oklahoma City always wears bells and whistles. This kind of contrast is very absorbing when you think about it. Angzi found his locker in the home team's locker room and quickly changed his training uniforms. First, he went to the court to do some light training. In the last game, he played the Thunder. Although Angzi performed well in statistics, Angzi still knows very well. The last battle revealed Angzi's current real strength. He is actually an ordinary 3D player now. The defense is good, but it is only good. It is reliable to have only one three-pointer on the offensive end. Therefore, Angzi still needs to work hard. He can only say that he has a firm foothold in the NBA. The teammates arrived one after another. Angzi has also been slowly playing the ball on the court. Mike Budenholzer came over and shouted. Angzi followed to the locker room. Watching Angzi walk in, several veterans stared at Angzi. Angzi suddenly felt that something was wrong, as if something strange was about to happen. "Tony, I saw a new Land Rover Underground, is that yours?" Angzi pricked his ears and told him instinctively that the GDP conversation was related to him because he had heard of the new Land Rover. "No, such a big car, I don't need it." Tony Parker shook his head. "Haha, what I said, the wheels of that car didn't change, there is no TD logo, it must not be our car." Manugino Billy smiled badly. "So when I passed by, let him relax." Hearing this, Angzi jumped up, letting go. GDP. The three people were shocked, because Angzi rushed over. "What? And that car, yours?" Manugino Billy pretended to be embarrassed, and Angzi was also happy. These three guys are so blatantly rectifying themselves. "It's mine, don't you know?" "Manu. Sorry, An, I really don't know. If I knew, I wouldn't deflate. You know, our San Antonio cars will go to Tim's car decoration shop to change wheels and change wheels. Lights, but that Land Rover doesn't have it, so." An 11 smiled helplessly. He knew now why these three old guys had adjusted themselves. In the final analysis, Duncan was to blame. Tim Duncan has a hobby of car decoration, so he opened a car decoration shop not far from the training hall. So many players and staff of the Spurs came and went to him to change their cars, which is considered to support the hobby of the star, but Angzi only bought the car because it was a special case. As a result, it was repaired as soon as it was bought, and Angzi was helpless. Okay, Anne, don't be angry, I just let off a tire. You still have a spare tire. It must be enough, but you must go to Tim for a trip. Such a big car. It's not too stingy to use such a small wheel. Tony Parker made a round of it, and the three of them showed the kind of tricky smiles. Of course Angzi is not angry. This kind of rigorous thing is seen a lot in NBA teams, and it often happens in the Spurs. Angzi also knows that he has also participated in some. For example, they were in Kawhi Leonard some time ago. A snake was placed in the cabinet. I wanted to see if Leonard, the new dead fish face of the Spur, had an expression after seeing the snake. For this reason, a camera was also placed in the cabinet. However, even though they were arrogant, they wouldn't get overwhelmed. The snake they found had their teeth extracted during Leonard's treatment. This time, Angzi's new car was only deflated by one tire. It's just 1 degree. As for going to Duncan's shop to change the car, Angzi will not reject it, because Angzi knows that Duncan's shop is actually open for fun, and usually doesn't make much money. Even if they make money, they are all donated by Duncan. Asking Angzi to send the car to change it is actually just seeing the new car in Angzi and wanting to play. Before the race, Angzi's newly bought car was fixed by these old guys. Angzi was also very angry, but Popovich quickly walked in and he sat back in his seat obediently. The Spurs' opponent in this game is the Bucks. The Bucks with Brandon Jennings, Stephen Jackson, and Andrew Bogut have the goal of hitting the Eastern Conference playoffs, but the facts often do not make them happy. The game has been played until now. The Bucks' record is only 2 wins and 6 losses, which is quite dismal. Of course the Bucks still have a great chance to win this game. The Spurs' defeat of the Thunder in the last game has exhausted the main players' physical strength, so this game, Greg Popovich made an early decision. If the tone is set, the bench is out, and it doesn't matter whether you win. Therefore, Angzi knows that he will not get much playing time in this game, because he played 26 minutes in the last game, and this game is destined to be a truce. The Spurs started this game with point guard T.J. Ford, shooting guard Gary Neal, small forward Dominic McGuire, power forward Dewayne Blair, and center Kwame Brown. This start consisted of several end-of-bench players. Yes, so when the lineup came out, the audience was surprised. But surprisingly, the Spurs played well on the full bench, and they kept biting the score. Angzi was sitting at the end of the bench, next to the GDP3, and Matt Bonner. Duncan didn't even make the big list in this game. At this time, he was standing aside in a suit, and his seat was given to Angzi and the others. Angzi watched the game for a while and felt bored, so he took a towel and covered his head, quietly dozing off. The Spurs played very hard in this game. Although the Bucks had a poor record, they still had some strength. In the second quarter, the score was still tightly beaten, but this also allowed Popovich to see the victory. Hope, so Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, the main players in the second half, decided to widen the point difference and see if they can win the game. Thanks to the 3 book friends of Yoon 110, Jian Tanjing, and Zinc and Old Love in my hometown for their rewards at the same time, I would like to thank all the book friends for their recommendation votes. Yuan will not thank you one by one. Come and read it. The latest, fastest and hottest serial works are all at for mobile users. Please go to read Super Role Player author, Yuan San Buletinji. Chapter 45. Has not been able to play, and Angzi just squinted for a while before joining the sideline chat army. The GDP3 veterans didn't get a minute of playing time in this game. The 3 people chatted very well on the sidelines, and Tim Duncan showed a smile from time to time. To be honest, Sometimes Angzi really likes the Spurs team atmosphere. The team has very few core words, but the people are very nice and easygoing. If there is too much talk, it always makes people laugh, such as now. The three elders talked about the hobbies of other people in the team. This topic was still caused by Angzi's reorganization. After all, the reason why Angzi was reorganized was related to Tim Duncan's hobby of changing the car. I heard that Danny raised a snake at home, do you know? Tony Parker pointed to Danny Green, who was fighting on the court. A snake? This is really a unique hobby. Tim Duncan nodded thoughtfully, watching an 11 couldn't help but vomit. Isn't your hobby of changing cars unique? Ah. Danny Green's snake? I know this, I have seen it. Manu Ginobili went to Danny Green's house some time ago as a guest, so now, he has the right to speak. That snake is just a young snake. It doesn't look scary at all. It's probably this long. Manu gestured with both hands. It's really short. Tony Parker and Tim Duncan both showed strange expressions, seeming to say, they look amazing. How thick is it then? Tony Parker couldn't help asking. Rough. Manu Ginobili thought about it with his head tilted, and then curled one hand up and said, probably it's so thick. While talking, he nodded, meaning, look, 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 how awesome this snake is. But this snake is not big. No, Tony, you don't know, Danny has already said that the snake was just born. Of course it is very small, and it will be very big in the future. What some of the Spurs players who were discussing were not aware of was that a camera was pointed at them not far away. All the scenes of them discussing snakes were recorded. Because they didn't know what they were talking about, it attracted a lot of people. Many guesses, including a lot of dirty guesses. At the end of the game, Angzi still got a little playing time. In the fourth quarter, Popovich let Angzi play for 2 offensive rounds, and then he was replaced again. The reason for this is to let Kawhi Leonard rested for a while. Angzi is also very speechless, because he found that in the last 2 rounds, he didn't score a point, rebounded and assisted nothing. In this way, the average per game data that can be seen before has dropped significantly. It seems that it was pitted. The Spurs still lost this game, losing only 3 points. In the interview session after the game, Popovich gave only 2 words to explain the loss: physical fitness. And Angzi, who only played for 1 minute, was also surrounded by reporters from China in the locker room. The 22 points of the last battle showed up in this game. The country has long been quarrelsome because of Angzi's 22 points. Yes, all of them are discussions about whether Angzi can start in the NBA, and in response to these discussions, these reporters from China naturally have to ask the parties involved. Angzi, you scored 22 points in the last game. Why did you only play 1 minute today? Angzi glanced at the reporter card, a reporter from NetEase Sports. Because of the KE incident, no reporters dare to slobber in front of Angzi. I played too hard in the last game, so Coach Bobo asked me to take a rotation in this game. This is the normal state of our Spurs, rotation. You often interview the Spurs, you should know. Did you read the rookie rankings produced by ESPN before that? That ranking ranked you 8th among rookies. I saw it. I think the ranking is very reasonable, Angzi just replied lightly. He knew that he could not be humble at this time. If he is humble, these domestic reporters would not know how to boast of himself. Of course he would be too arrogant. No, you will be beaten like that. Then you are on the rookie rankings. Do you think you have the strength to start? Hupa Sports Annie asked everyone the question that everyone cares about. Is Angzi capable of starting? What does he think of himself? Angzi, who is very concerned about domestic forums, also knows very well that this question is the question that reporters most want to ask, so he answered very seriously. After thinking about it, he said, I don't know if I can make a starter. There is no difference between a starter and a substitute. Don't think I rarely start, In fact, I'm already a starter. Angzi's answer is very witty. Don't think I rarely start, in fact, I am already a starter. This answer is ambiguous and terrifying, but it really shows my self-confidence. At the end of the game, Angzi's scoring average has fallen to 9.8 points per game. It is really a heaven and a hell. He hasn't done anything yet, and may be about to drop off the rookie list. At End Amp, T Gymnasium Underground Parking Lot, GDP elders helped Angzi to change the spare tire, arranged for the change of the car the next day, and left Angzi. The second day after losing to the Bucks, the Spurs still had a game. This time the opponent is the Rockets, and they are still playing at home. In the morning, Angzi sent the car to the TD house near the training hall, changed the car's wheels and hernia lights, and then began to prepare for the afternoon game. Because the last game had enough rest, so he played the Rockets and Angzi started the game. In this battle, Angzi and GDP started at the same time, and finally played 32 minutes. The NBA regular season playing time finally broke through 30 minutes, and because of going to Duncan's store in the morning to change the car, the three elders are also very caring. Angzi, from time to time, creates some singles and open opportunities for Angzi. In this way, Angzi also scored 25 points in this game, breaking his rookie season scoring record. Through this game, the average scoring point has reached 11.5 points, which is considered to be back to heaven again. As the saying goes, if you don't fight, you don't know each other. After an entire experience, Angzi is integrated into the world of GDP 3 elders. The game is also relaxed, the world is peaceful, and everything is like happening in heaven. After winning the Rockets, the Spurs reopened the winning streak mode. They won 99-83 against the Blazers. Angzi came off the bench and scored 7 points, 3 rebounds and 2 blocks. The Spurs won 2 games in a row. Against the Suns, they won 102-91. Angzi started 15-5 rebounds and 3 blocks, 3 consecutive victories. Magic, 85-83 2-point win. Angzi Truce, 4 consecutive victories, 88-65. Angzi starting, 18 points, 3 rebounds, 1 steal and 1 block, 5 consecutive victories. It can be said that Angzi, who has developed the ability to control the ball, has gradually found his position on the offensive end of the Spurs. With three-pointer possession, 2 abilities can already exist in the Spurs' blocking tactics. As for the defensive end, after discovering the problem in the face of Adu, Angzi still has no idea how to solve it. The only consolation is that there are still a few players at the level of Adu in the league. At least the recent 5 consecutive victories, he has not met players to this level. Actually, in today's chapter, the first plot refers to a GIF picture that has been widely circulated. I don't know if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it, you can join the group. Welcome to visit and read. The latest, the fastest and hottest serial works are all at for mobile phone users. Please go to read it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player Author, Yi Wen-san Buletinji. Chapter 46. On January 18, 2012, the Spurs took a flight to Miami after a day's rest, and finally they were about to face the league's biggest championship hot team. In the summer of 2010, LeBron James decided to cut his salary to join the Heat, which formed the Big Three. After reaching the finals strongly last season, they were overturned by the Mavericks and staged a coughing event. The Big Three lost their face. When they come back this season, the Heat must use a strong performance to retrieve what they have lost. Everything. However, the Heat's performance in the shrinking season is not very good. The game has only 9 wins and 4 losses. Compared with the Spurs' 13 wins and 1 loss, the difference is too big. Obviously the two teams are not at the same level in terms of state. Yes, so before the game, the media are more optimistic about the old Spurs. For LeBron James, Angzi looks down on the league superstar who will have to cling together if he can't win. He, like most fans, has become an invisible James Black since LeBron James made a decision. The reason why it is invisible is because playing in this league, even if you have opinions about another player, as long as it is not the kind of hatred that kills sons and wives, it is best not to put it on your lips. So Angzi never told anyone that he is actually a Zanhe. Of course, Angzi's black against James is actually still at a low level. It is not the kind of crazy black, he just doesn't like the behavior of James running into the heat. Miami on the south coast is warm in winter. If you find a reference city in China, Angzi feels that this kind of weather is more like the weather in Hainan in China. There are also many domestic reporters in Miami. Because of the enthusiasm of the Big Three, there have also been many Heat fans in China. Among these fans, the winds are mostly dense, the quantity is large and the quality is poor, but the victory lies in the high traffic, so the media still pays attention. The game started at the American Airlines Arena in Miami. The Spurs included point guard Tony Parker, shooting guard Danny Green, small forward Kawhi Leonard, power forward Tim Duncan and center Thiago Splitter. The Spurs are all the main players, vowing to win the game. On the Heat side, point guard Mario Chalmers, shooting guard Dwayne Wade, small forward LeBron James, power forward Chris Bosh and center Joel Anthony. At the beginning of the game, the Heat started their defensive counterattack, and the Spurs took their time to enter the battle. They played with the Heat slowly and defensively. It seemed that the two teams were going to score points in the rhythm of the game. It's a winner. The Spurs defending James is Kawhi Leonard. This game is also the first time Leonard has faced James. A contest between the old spear and the new shield began on the court. Because of the failure of last season, the Heat learned from it, and Dwayne Wade also gave up his core position. This season, LeBron James controls almost all of the Heat's possessions, and James finally got what he wanted. The Spurs' blocking and cutting and the Heat's defensive counterattack have played back and forth. The game has become very exciting, the score is also very anxious. From the standpoint of the scene, the Heat are indeed the Spurs' biggest opponent, because this battle is actually the Spurs after replenishing their energy. Their physical fitness is still very sufficient. The Spurs in this battle can be called the strongest Spurs. You come and I go between the two sides, the fight is very fierce, the pace of the game is slowly speeding up, the Spurs' slow positional battle can't suppress the Heat's sharp counterattack, so the Spurs had to make a substitution in the second quarter. You play, replace Kawhi, and defend LBJ. Popovich hurriedly arranged for Angzi to play. In the 5th minute of the second quarter, an 11 played against LeBron James. The Heat's offensive round was the first time Mario Chalmers took the ball to the front court, and then handed the ball to James. Angzi glanced at Chalmers. He knew that Chalmers is actually a functional point guard. His role on the court is to control the ball to the front court, then hand the ball to the star, and then wait for the three-pointer. Of course, an 11 is not himself. If he is also asked to be a point guard, this is probably the case. But he didn't have time to think so much, because James already had the ball, wrapped in a strong body, and rushed over. An 11 hard-topped it. With his body, it was easy to support James without the full impact. James was a little surprised. He found that the Asian man in front of him didn't look very strong, and he could withstand his own shock. Considering that I have been in the NBA for so many years, there is no outside player who can withstand his own impact. Who can only stagger his body and let the road open. Angzi, who was one punch away, naturally didn't know what James was thinking. Looking at his opponent, this superstar who had set a precedent for the Pinnacle Group seemed to be serious, and Angzi was also ready to meet James' next impact. LeBron James break through, China and stopped him. James turned around, and then accelerated, he rushed into the inside. A quick layup, success. The ESPN commentator described what happened next in this attack at a very fast rate. LeBron James used a tricky way to rush to the penalty area and then quickly completed the layup. The whole process only lasted 2 seconds at most. James had already scored before Anzi could react. Anzi was helpless. He thought James would only break through with brute force. Result. In fact, this is the impression of Anzi. James is not the kind of player who can only make a breakthrough. Last year, he played the Mavericks in the finals. Even though the Mavericks used J.J. Barea to defend James, James did not choose to break through himself, but chose to pass ball. So this lesson teaches us that we still can't be impressed when we are a human being. Spurs attack, Popovich shouted from the sidelines, slow down. Slow down. So, Manu Ginobili dribbled the ball slowly, trying hard to control the rhythm, and the Spurs offense entered a slow battle of positions. After several erratic moves, cuts, and screens, the Spurs found an opportunity. With 3 seconds left on the offensive time, Manu Ginobili made a mid-range shot and successfully hit. Back on the defensive end, Anzi faced James again. This time he was more serious. His defensive failure just now made him realize that James is not the kind of player who has no skills at all, and his opponent can make a move anytime and anywhere. Strange tricks, break through your own defense, especially James is still a player with excellent speed and strength. Often a small mistake, the opponent will succeed in lightning. LeBron James took the ball and dribbled a few steps. Suddenly, he dashed into the three-point line. An 11 hurriedly moved to block it. The two collided like this. Then, James repeated the old trick, and turned around again, trying to wipe it from Anzi. Anzi moved one step horizontally again, blocking it again. James found out that he had encountered an opponent. This is an opponent whose strength, speed, and response are equal to him. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 47. After being defended by Anzi, James suddenly became a little angry and turned into anger. He has never encountered such a situation after he has been in the league for so many years. Dribbled the ball for a while, but couldn't find a chance, so he had to pass the ball. Dwayne Wade received the ball in the last 2 seconds, facing Manu Ginobili's defense. His countdown shot naturally did not score. LeBron, why did you give me the ball until the end when retiring? Dwayne Wade asked with a dark face, and the 2 seconds just now scared him. The sudden question made James stunned, not knowing what to say. Of course, he was naturally even more embarrassed in his heart. Spurs offense, TJ Ford controlled the ball, dribbled a few times, leaned on Mario Chamos and cut in. After attracting the defense, he divided the ball to Manu Ginobili, and the ball dribbled in after receiving the ball. A few steps, the mid-range shot, a steady hit. Then, LeBron James took the ball and faced Anzi again. The American Airlines arena rang out with LBJ calls. This outsider is gradually becoming the favorite of Heat fans, surpassing Dwayne Wade. James glanced at Anzi's defense. He found that the Asian boy's defense was still very solid, and he didn't seem to have any chance. He thought for a while, the ball just made him lose face. This one must be retrieved, so he will not pass the ball. Then, I can only get stronger. LeBron James suppressed his sloppiness and became serious. His piercing eyes meant that he was going to be serious. You're done, kid. I'll let you know how good the king is with this ball. A large string of English popped out of LeBron James' mouth. Anzi naturally understood it, but he didn't understand the king one. Meaning? Wang? What do you mean? Anzi thought for a while, but LeBron James seemed to have found some opportunity, stepping out quickly. An 11 was taken aback and posted it like lightning, hoping to prevent James' subsequent breakthrough. But, Anzi and James both heard a beep, and the referee blew their whistle. The two looked over in surprise. The referee in this game was the wayward Joe Crawford. The bald referee made a walking gesture and James jumped immediately. What? I walked? Are you right? He immediately rushed to Crawford, and was blown away at the critical moment. He was very angry, but Wade quickly rushed to grab James. He knew that he couldn't argue with the referee at this time. What's more, with the ball just now, James seems to have really taken a step. Wade is very clear about the importance. The Heat are not seen by the referees. In fact, since their big three teamed up, LeBron James, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, who are each superstars, could not benefit from the referee. Yes, some basic superstar whistle can't be obtained, such as the ball just now. If James kept the referee treatment, he would not be blown away. Of course, this is the reason why James is very angry. There was a boo in the American Airlines arena. The object of the boo was naturally the bald referee Crawford. LeBron James calmed down under Wade's persuasion. Angie was also surprised by James' move, but it's definitely a good thing to end James' offense in this way, so he didn't go too much. He hit early and watched the play. After the play was over, the game was just there. It started again. Next, how should he guard against James and how should he guard against it? But what he didn't know was that because of that walking, the legendary full force Jean was about to appear. It is said that there are several legends in the Alliance, such as Full Jean, Rational Science, Diligence Shark, Pinnacle Wheat, 2Me AI, 2K Lamb, etc. It seems that something strange has been mixed in, but no matter what, the so-called Full Jean is anyway. One of the legends in the league, it is said that LeBron James has not been playing as hard as he can. Only in a few cases will he be forced out of his full power, and the full state of James is terrifying and no one can resist. Angie didn't know what kind of beast he was about to face. Spurs offense, TJ Ford slowly dribbled the ball from outside the three-point line, controlling the rhythm. Angie and Manu went straight into the penalty area with both wings, which immediately caused chaos inside the Heat. This is a new set of tactics for the Spurs, used to make sudden and numerous moves to create chaos in the opponent's defense. Angie and Manu have both wings inserted. Tim Duncan pulls out in an instant, and after receiving the ball, an iconic kick is made. With a shot and a successful hit, the Spurs started to take the lead. On the other side of the Heat, LeBron James, who was already furious, took the ball directly from Mario Chamos and fought against Angie viciously. Asian boy, you and the bald head have successfully angered me, this game, you are over. An 11 curled his lips. Of course, he hadn't realized the seriousness of the problem. LeBron James suddenly turned on his talent skills to savage collision, and he ran into it straight with the ball. In just one round, Angie discovered the difference in James. This guy, there is still more energy. LeBron James broke Angie's defense, rushed all the way into the restricted area, with a cock and a crisp buckle, LeBron James scored 2 points. When he turned back to defense, James looked at Angie, who was standing still and said, "Why, Asian boy, I was scared by me. This is just the beginning." That's right, this is just the beginning. LeBron James became a pig's foot hunter in an instant, and Angie became a supporting role in an instant. LeBron James, under his full strength, not only ran more aggressively, but also used his full strength against Angie. He did not save himself at all. Various breakthrough layups, dunks into the penalty area, etc., also blew 2 3-pointers. The Spurs, who had a small lead, were soon chased back by the Heat, but they became the one behind. Before halftime, watching LeBron James have taken over the game in full, Popovich saw that the momentum was wrong and hurriedly called a timeout. Angie, who had become a hole on the defensive end, was naturally replaced. But it's useless to replace Angie. Angie can't guard against LBJ, neither can the new Kawhi Leonard. The Kawhi at this time is not the boy in the future, although Kawhi's single defense is already very powerful. Yes, but like Angie, it is still in its infancy and needs to evolve. In this way, the game was slowly controlled by the Heat. Several adjustments could not limit James. Popovich could only think of other ways. He allowed the team to speed up and simply gave up the defense and started fighting with the Heat. The counterattack. The game, from this moment there is a great suspense. Thank you, Stardust's Lost and other book friends for their rewards. An apprentice appears in this book. One more chapter will be added today, and there will be 3 changes. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen Sanbuletnji. Chapter 48. N11, who was sitting down the court, was very unhappy. Without any preparation, he was exploded by James. It was completely and clean. Of course, Angzi will not doubt himself because of being blasted. In fact, Angzi clearly knows and understands his current strength. It is normal that LeBron James can't prevent LeBron James, just like he couldn't prevent Kevin Durant before. Or another way of thinking, how many can guard LeBron James and Kevin Durant in this league? Angzi thinks that there is almost none. Maybe he can defend it once or twice, but he can always defend it. At least this kind of player does not exist in this league now. If it is counted in the past, Angzi thinks Gary Payton might be one. Gary Payton faced Michael Jordan in the finals. Although he lost the game, Michael Jordan, who defended Payton in that series, was desperate to make a living. In the 4th game of that series, Gary Payton allowed Michael Jordan to score only 23 points. This was the lowest score in the finals of Michael Jordan. In the 5th game, the Sonics won the game, and Gary Payton only allowed Michael Jordan to scored 26 points, and then, in the 6th game, Gary Payton played 47 minutes, defending Michael Jordan. 19 shots missed 14 times. In the end only got 22 points, refreshing his lowest score. It can be said that throughout the series, Michael Jordan's performance in the first 3 games was fairly normal. In the last 3 games, Gary Payton used his super defensive ability to suppress Michael Jordan. The first half of the game ended quickly. The Heat took the lead by 10 points with the full burst of James, and the game developed towards a bad side to the Spurs. Angzi played more than 5 minutes in the first half. The defensive end was blown. The offensive end shot 3 3-pointers, hit 2 of them, scored 6 points, so in fact Angzi's performance is still good. During the intermission, Popovich made a fire, and he was very dissatisfied with the Spurs' performance. Angzi knows that Popovich still attaches great importance to this game. There is no doubt that the Spurs' goal this season is to compete for the championship, and the Heat are the Spurs' biggest championship opponent. Although the regular season will not determine the ownership of the championship, however, winning a competitor is always an incentive for himself, so Popovich hopes to use such a victory to prove the strength of the Spurs. In the second half of the game, Angzi still sat on the bench. The Spurs continued to send the lineup for the second quarter: point guard T.J. Ford, shooting guard Manu Ginobili, small forward Kawhi Leonard, power forward Dewayne Blair, center T.I. Split. On the Heat side, there are some rotations. LBJ mentioned the position of the power forward. Sean Battier played, plus Norris Cole and McMillan on the outside, and Udonis Haslem on the inside. The Heat sent a bench led by James. Back to the first offense of the game, T.J. Ford took the ball. With the help of a high-quality pick and roll by Dewayne Blair, he found an open position and aimed at the basket. T.J. Ford made a 3-pointer and successfully hit. The point difference was reduced to 7 points. Then, with the Heat's offense, LBJ faced Kawhi's defense and directly broke through in a bullish manner, forcibly taking 2 points, a 9-point difference. It was the Spurs' offense again, and it was T.J. Ford. He quickly held the ball to the front court. Norris Cole hadn't landed yet. The experienced T.J. Ford quickly hit a time difference, reached the penalty area and scored 2 points for a layup. At the beginning of the second half, T.J. Ford broke out. This point guard, also from the 0-3 Golden generation, showed his best form and scored 5 points in a row. Seeing the point difference narrowed to 7 points, James was sullen. He was very angry in this game and did not want to give the Spurs a chance. So, returning to the offensive end, the cold-faced LBJ rushed into the Spurs penalty area regardless of other players' requests for the ball, and scored 2 points again with a small split deduction. The American Airlines arena boiled, with the legendary full force. Jean is doing a great performance for them. So far, LBJ has scored 27 points. The point difference returned to 9 points again. LBJ entered the full force mode. This mode of LBJ is unfamiliar, but it is also wonderful. TJ Ford glanced at James, who was enjoying the cheers of the audience. He didn't think much. As a veteran who came to the Spurs to hug his legs at the end of his career, TJ Ford also has his own ambitions. He is not here to mess around. Since this game Greg the coach wants to win, then he helps the team win. TJ Ford only felt his hand feel hot and steadily controlled the ball to the front court. He called Dewayne Blair's pick and roll. The pick and roll quality of the little fat guy Dewayne Blair is very good. TJ Ford got rid of Norris Cole through the pick and roll, adjusted himself one step beyond the three-point line, and shot the three-pointer. Hit again. 3 points. Go in again. TJ Ford is in hot form and scored 8 points in a row. The Spurs are only 6 points behind. Looking at TJ Ford, who was celebrating wildly, the entire American Airlines arena made a huge boo. This was for a dedicated veteran, although their boo was not kind. James was very unhappy. He even yelled at Norris Cole and was scored 8 points by TJ Ford. Not only did the Heat's lead not expand, but it was shrinking sharply. So at this time, James didn't care that Norris Cole was himself. He just wanted to vent his dissatisfaction. Returning to the offensive end, James continued his breakthrough, but this time the Spurs double-teamed was very timely. After James attracted the double team, he sensibly chose to pass the ball. McMiller, who was open on the outside, took a three-pointer but failed. In. Coming to the defensive end with a sullen face, watching TJ Ford continue to control the Spurs' possession of the ball, James moved slightly and stood near the free throw line. He was obviously ready to make up the defense. He didn't want to see it again. TJ Ford's runaway. In the face of James' prepared defense anytime and anywhere, TJ Ford still did not give a chance. Facing Norris Cole's main defense, TJ Ford actually scored a three-pointer in place. 3 points. 3 points again, the ESPN commentator couldn't help but shouted, and then only heard a swish, 3 points into the network. Go in. 3 points difference. James pulled Norris Cole over. Listen Norris, if this game loses, you are the biggest sinner, so next, I will defend the Spurs point guard. James decided to switch defenses, he couldn't stand it anymore. The Heat's offense is still the same. James' breakthrough score, Shane Battier missed a three-pointer, the rebound was taken by Dewayne Blair, and the Spurs attacked. Mom, James cursed inwardly, then shouted loudly, guard them. We can't lose any more points. TJ Ford, who scored 11 points in a row, continues to hold the ball. It seems that he will completely evolve in this game. Since the second half, he has been playing against James. In the face of James' change of defense, TJ Ford's state of mind did not change. He still dribbled the ball steadily. After calling Dewayne Blair's pick and roll, TJ Ford rushed inside. James hurriedly followed, but Ford's speed was so fast that he could not achieve a go-ahead. TJ Ford rushed into the interior of the Heat, layup. TJ Ford jumped high, and his right hand was ready to throw the basketball away, completing the same simple score this time. At this moment, a thick black hand appeared behind TJ Ford, grabbing TJ Ford's jersey and pulling him off. Wow, exclaimed from the audience, followed by continuous whistles. LeBron James pulled people. TJ Ford hugged his shoulders and arms and rolled on the floor in pain. It seemed that James' movements had hurt him. The Spurs are so excited that they have gathered around, and the stadium is in chaos. Book friends are welcome to visit and read. The latest, fastest, and hottest serial works are all at for mobile users, please to read. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San-Buletinji. Chapter 49. I didn't notice that the classmate has already become an apprentice, so let's add another shift today, 4 shifts, this is the 3rd shift, and there will be another shift in the evening in addition, it's 4 shifts today, can you vote for it? Seeing TJ Ford being carried out of the field, Angzi's mood was another point. In the Spurs, the relationship between teammates is very good, and Angzi and TJ Ford have the best relationship. Angzi's possession is guided by TJ Ford. And for TJ Ford's injury, Angzi is still very worried. He knows that TJ Ford's body is full of old injuries. Maybe this time it was caused by which old injury? If it is really like that, everything will be over. LeBron James pulls down TJ Ford, which seems to be a relatively normal foul action. This kind of action is often seen in the NBA. Generally, when encountering such fouls, the referee will only blow one offense at most. But Angzi really felt that LeBron James was too much. For this goal, TJ Ford's goal was already doomed. James obviously wanted to vent his anger. LeBron James was called a foul, and Tony Parker, who replaced TJ Ford, made 2 free throws, reducing the point difference to 1 point. Because the referee whistled 2 free throws and 1 throw, the ball was still in the possession of the Spurs. Because of James' malicious foul, the Spurs were very excited. Everyone was riveting to help TJ Ford, who was injured and left the field, to win the game. The unfinished game. The Spurs used 2 free throws and 1 throw, and quickly overtook the score, and the game went into intense heat. In the 4th quarter of the game, the Spurs staff sent back the news of TJ Ford in the hospital. The old neck injury has recurred and the season is reimbursed. Angzi was silent when he heard the news. He knew that the neck was one of TJ Ford's old injuries. The doctor even persuaded TJ Ford to stay away from basketball for his neck injury. With this injury, TJ Ford is likely to announce his retirement. LeBron James has scored 46 points. This game is his performance alone. Super LBJ, 46th point. He will lead the Heat to victory by himself. Listening to the noisy and chaotic commentary not far away, an 11 was very irritable, and then looked at the majestic LeBron James on the court, and 11 suddenly felt that he should go on the court to stop this guy. On the court, LeBron James faced Kawhi Leonard's defense, a breakthrough easily scored 2 points, and Popovich quickly called a timeout. "Coach, let me play, I can guard LeBron James." Greg Popovich glanced at Angzi in surprise. During his coaching career, he hadn't encountered a situation where he volunteered to play. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure, coach, let me play, I can guard LeBron James." And 11 nodded firmly. "Well, and replaces Manu on the field, you play shooting guard, and when defending, switch to James." Popovich chose to believe in Angzi. The Spurs made a substitution, and an 11 reappeared. "And, LBJ will leave it to you, I hope you can guard him." Kawhi Leonard, who had never spoken anything, suddenly spoke up. Angzi raised his eyebrows. He understood that James was guilty of public anger in this game. The Spurs attacked as soon as they came out. Angzi's opponent was Dwayne Wade. The Heat followed Angzi's running around. In the end, they could not beat the Spurs' heavy cover and were thrown away by Angzi. Vacancy. The ball is here. As soon as Tony Parker threw his hand, the basketball was passed to Angzi, and Angzi made a three-pointer without hesitation. "Let's warm up with a three-pointer first," Angzi screamed in his heart, pressing his breath, and threw the basketball in a standard posture. 3 points. Hit. The Spurs, who were 12 points behind, were only 9 points behind. On the defensive end, Anxi directly faced LeBron James, and he unceremoniously posted it. In this offense, LeBron James didn't take the ball. He stood in the corner, motionless. And Anxi's close defense quickly made him feel uncomfortable. He didn't understand that he didn't take the ball. Why did the Asian boy who angered him in the first half kept sticking to him? Doesn't this Asian boy know? This is not conducive to changing defenses by sticking to yourself. How did James know that Anxi has ignored him? It has nothing to do with other people's scores. What he wants to guarantee now is to prevent James from killing him. For this reason, Anxi does not hesitate to overdraw his physical strength. LeBron James looked at the situation, and the Heat couldn't find an offensive opportunity for a long time. He snorted inwardly, "Humph, it's not on me yet." Then, he quickly threw Anxi away and pulled the ball beyond the three-point line. Anxi knew that James was coming by himself, so he concentrated and stared at James tightly. After scoring a game-high 48 points, LeBron James no longer put Anxi in his eyes. He slowly controlled the ball, seeing the time reaching the bottom, and then he started to move. Directly forcibly overtake one step, LeBron James is about to rush into the inside carrying Anxi. Anxi stubbornly against James, but also a little overwhelmed, can only retreat step by step. At this time, Anxi remembered his promise. He gritted his teeth and pressed LeBron James with all his will. LeBron James suddenly felt a huge force attack. He was already close to the basket. He found that scoring was close at hand, but because of Anxi's interference, he couldn't make a layup. So, in a hurry, LeBron James made a turn, ready to throw a small hook. An 11, who was stubbornly holding LeBron James, suddenly found an opportunity. LeBron James, who turned around, exposed the ball in front of an 11. Without any hesitation, an 11 stretched out his arm and drew it over. This is a gambling steal. In the league, Kobe Bryant and others are very good at such steals, but Anxi is not among this group of people. Without absolute certainty, it is impossible for Anxi to make a steal. But today, defending LeBron James's goal made an 11 take the risk. In the exclamation of the American Airlines arena, Anxi took out the basketball in LeBron James' hands. Steal, following the ESPN commentator's shout, an 11 succeeded in stealing the ball. It was too late to be surprised. An 11 stumbled to grab the basketball and kept the ball in his hands. Offensive and defensive change instantly, the Spurs offense. LeBron James couldn't believe it. He was cut off like this. Unwilling to believe it, he kept beckoning the referee. "He fouled. He touched my hand." Joe Crawford couldn't stand it anymore. He warned James, and then he calmed down. Spurs offense, Tony Parker held the ball and directly hit the Heat with the time difference. Europe scored 2 points for a layup and 7 points left. There are 5.5 minutes left in the game. The Heat served in the back court. James directly passed the ball, held the ball to the front court, and faced Anxi, apparently trying to get the steal back. Forced a step to accelerate, LeBron James instantly passed Anxi, but at Anxi's speed, it was okay to catch up with James. After catching up and reattaching James, Anxi blocked James' breakthrough route and cooperated with Duen Blair on the inside. Double-teamed James. No double-teaming. Anxi really doesn't think he can guard James under his full strength. The scary thing is that you don't even have the chance to double-team. Now, Anxi's role is to create double-teaming opportunities. As soon as James is double-teamed, all he can do is to score the ball, so without any consideration, the basketball will be passed to Chris Bosh, who is not far away, who is already empty. Danger. Anxi knows Bosch's shooting ability well, and he knows that Bosch can't get this ball. So, At the moment James passed the ball, an 11 flew out, and stretched out his long arms with all his strength, trying to interfere with the pass. Welcome friends to visit and read, the latest, fastest, the hottest serial works are all at for mobile phone users, please go to read it. Super Role Player. Author, Yuen San Buletinji. Chapter 50. The fourth update today, you still have recommended votes in your hands, thank you. Snapped. The pass was broken. China and Steel, the second one. The on-site commentator yelled, Angzi stole the ball again. As soon as LeBron James' pass flew out, it was cut off by Angzi. And because of the flying steal, Angzi lost his center of gravity and fell heavily to the floor, but the basketball was snatched by Duncan. The Spurs opened the fast break, Tony Parker received the pass, rushed to the front court and completed the layup. Is another 2 points. Only 5 points left. Angzi was lying on the ground and Kawhi Leonard got up. He gasped and laughed, and 2 steals in a row. Even if LeBron James couldn't prevent LeBron James, it was worth it because he had already lost his face. And the Spurs quickly recovered the score. Next, Angzi continued to defend James, but the goal was not defended. James forced a breakthrough to complete the layup and scored 2 points. His face was gloomy and terrible. After taking his 50th point, James didn't have any celebration. Failed to prevent James, Angzi returned to the offensive end and made a score. After passing a few screens and running out of the open, Angzi scored a 3-pointer. This was his 4th 3-pointer in the game. The difference therefore came to 4 points. And then, Angzi never gave James a chance again. LeBron James had already fought for a whole game after all, and his physical fitness had already experienced problems. After scoring 50 points, his breakthrough power would not be as great as the first half. Angzi teamed up with his teammates to double team a few times, and James missed a few consecutive shots. The Spurs took advantage of Angzi's outstanding performance to take away the game. After the game, an 11 was interviewed in the visiting team's locker room. Because of his outstanding performance in the fourth quarter, he was surrounded by several American reporters this time. Angzi, Coach Popovich sent you to play at the crucial moment of this game. Is this a signal that you have been reused? Angzi still asked domestic reporters to ask questions. After all, these reporters are all old acquaintance. No, I actually asked to play, and 11's answer was in English. After all, he still has to take care of the American reporters. Asked to play? What did you think? The reporters were interested, and they felt that there must be an inside story. There are indeed inside stories, but Angzi didn't want to be troublesome. He answered vaguely, I think I can help the team, so I asked for it. Why did Angzi take the initiative to ask to play? In order to prevent LeBron James from killing LeBron James and avenging TJ Ford is a reason, but can he tell? No, Angzi knows that if he speaks out, the media will definitely be endlessly speculating. This is not in line with his original intention. He is here to play basketball, not to force him. Domestic reporters ask several questions, and Angzi asks several American reporters to ask several questions. And, in this game you scored another 15 points and made 5 3-pointers. At present, your 3-point shooting percentage is as high as 50%, ranking first in the league, and most of your points are 3-pointers. So far this season, you have made 84 3-pointers and hit 42 of them. This is the top 5 in the league, second only to Ryan Anderson, Steve Novak, Jason Terry, and Kevin Durant. Do you have any thoughts on this series of data? Hearing this question, Angzi knew that the American reporter was going to dig deeper. He glanced at the middle-aged white reporter card, ESPN reporter, named Mike Monroe. I think this series of data is the greatest commendation for my efforts. I believe I will continue to work hard under the encouragement of these data. Angzi official replied in a way, but actually when he heard this question at that time, he was also taken aback. He didn't expect that his three-pointers would be so bad from the data point of view that he played so far this season. But thinking about it carefully, Anzi thinks it's the same. In a game, if he plays more than 20 minutes, then Anzi can always get 7 or 8 chances outside the three-point line. Half of his field goal percentage is now enough. Oh my God. The reporter from the US asked a few more unnutritious questions, and the interview ended after the game. Anzi breathed a sigh of relief, but several teammates made fun of him. "And, a big star. So many reporters surround you. Haha, and, how does it feel to be surrounded by so many reporters? Isn't it cool?" Anzi smiled bitterly and shook his head. These teammates, whenever they have a chance to joke, they won't let themselves go. At the end of the game, everyone who cared about TJ Ford went to the hospital to visit TJ Ford. TJ Ford was in very bad condition. According to the doctor, the injury had already damaged the spine, and the best treatment was to stay away from basketball. Looking at TJ Ford lying in the hospital bed, Anzi couldn't bear it. If LeBron James didn't pull him, Ford could at least finish the season, right? "Terrence, take care of your injuries, we wait for you to come back in 11 couldn't help but say. TJ Ford smiled, and, don't comfort me, I know I am no longer fit to fight on the basketball court, maybe I should retire." Anzi was silent, he didn't know what to say. Retired. A very strange vocabulary. Anzi believes that this vocabulary should not correspond to TJ Ford. The Spurs boarded the plane heading to Houston. They were going there to play a back-to-back game. Naturally, the opponent was the Rockets. The Spurs arrived in Houston late at night. After a night's rest in Houston, the Spurs went to the Toyota Center in the morning to do some restorative training. Then, in the afternoon, the Spurs faced the Rockets away from home. Because Anzi overstretched his energy while defending James in the last game, just one night's rest was unable to make up for this energy. Therefore, in this game, Anzi was given a rotation. In the morning, he left Houston and returned to San Antonio. Recently, many things have happened in the NBA, and many of them are related to Anzi. For example, the domestic eldest brother Alien has recovered from his injury and signed with another Texas team, Mavericks, after his comeback. Going up is a good choice. Because of this choice, the UAE can play with his template Dirk Nowitzki. And the UAE's resignation to the NBA also made the country happy. Together, Anzi and UAE were called the NBA China Gemini by domestic fans, which is considered to be a combination. In addition, in New York, because of Iman Shumpert's injury, the Knicks announced the signing of Jeremy Lin as a substitute for Tony Douglas and Mike Bibby, so there were 3 yellow men in the NBA. Of course, in terms of recent developments, naturally the best in Anzi. Anzi is currently the Spurs' regular rotation, averaging 11.2 points, 2.5 rebounds, 1.4 assists, 1.2 steals and 2.0 blocks per game, averaging 3.5 three-pointers per game, and a 50% three-point shooting percentage. The US only signed the contract with the Mavericks on January 8, and only played 5 games. The most impressive performance was the 8-point and 3-board performance of the Timberwolves. Now they are simply the Mavericks' water dispenser manager. As for Jeremy Lin, let alone, now that he has not even played an NBA game, he has been delegated to the NBDL team by the Knicks.